You are not as smart as you keep telling yourself. If that hits a nerve, it is because it is close to the truth. Right now, people above you are making decisions that will shape your next few years, and you will only understand it after the results land. You call your daily choices control, but most of what you do is reaction, routine, and borrowed logic. You were trained to confuse obedience with intelligence. You grew up inside a system that rewards compliance and calls it merit. Follow instructions, repeat the approved answer, collect the grade, earn the label, smart. Then life begins, and the label does not protect you. Real intelligence is not memorizing steps. It is seeing what is happening underneath the surface, noticing incentives, reading patterns, and choosing timing. The discomfort you feel is the gap between who you think you are and how you actually operate under pressure, especially when nobody is watching. Machiavelli is not here to entertain you with darkness. He is here to give language to what you already sense. The world does not reward the person who is the most virtuous in the room. It rewards the person who understands the situation and moves effectively. That is not cynicism. It is reality. If you can see the game, you stop being dragged by it. This is a ladder of 10 levels. The point is not to feel smart. The point is to locate what controls you, what keeps you there, and what it will cost you to move up. Most people never move beyond level 3, and it has almost nothing to do with raw IQ. It has to do with dependency. Each lower level provides a psychological benefit that feels like safety, and the moment you threaten that safety, the ego fights back. This is why people get defensive when you name their level. They are not defending a viewpoint. They are defending a shelter. Level 1. The sleeper. The sleeper is not stupid. The sleeper is automatic. Their day is a chain of cues. Wake up because the alarm says so. Scroll because the thumb learned it. Eat what is convenient. Repeat what is popular. Fear what is promoted, and call that having opinions. Their life is not guided by conscious strategy. It is guided by whatever pushes them the hardest in the moment. Ask a sleeper what they believe, and they will often repeat the last strong signal they consumed. A headline, a trend, a family opinion, a workplace norm, not because they are lying, because they cannot feel the difference between thinking and repeating. They confuse familiarity with truth. They confuse loudness with credibility. They confuse consensus with safety. From a Machiavellian lens, the sleeper has one main trait: predictability. Predictable people are usable. If you can predict what someone will do when they are afraid, praised, pressured, or shamed, you can steer them. The sleeper is steered constantly. They work jobs they do not question. They accept rules they do not understand. They buy what they are told will fix their insecurity. They complain about outcomes but do not change inputs. The sleeper craves 3 comforts: authority, routine, consensus. Authority removes responsibility. Routine removes uncertainty. Consensus removes the fear of standing alone. The sleeper avoids the loneliness of independent thought, because independent thought comes with a cost. You might be wrong. You might be judged. You might have to act without approval. The sleeper would rather be safely wrong with everyone than uncertain alone. Moving past level 1 begins with a brutal admission. A large portion of your past decisions were not truly yours. Your tastes, your outrage, your priorities, even your ambitions may have been installed. That admission feels like humiliation. That is why most sleepers never wake up. They would rather protect the story of themselves than face the reality of being programmed. Level 2. The believer. The believer wakes up just enough to sense control, and then they immediately trade controllers. They find a framework that explains the world, and they collapse into it. This framework might be political, spiritual, conspiratorial, activist, or anti-mainstream. The category does not matter. The mechanism matters. The believer stops thinking and starts believing. The ideology becomes a machine that produces reactions. It tells them who is good, who is evil, what to say, what to hate, what to fear, what to celebrate. It offers community and certainty. Certainty is addictive. It turns confusion into a story and turns insecurity into belonging. The believer often thinks they are awake because they rejected the mainstream. But rejecting one channel does not mean you escaped programming. It can mean you switched stations. The believer's mind still reacts on cue. They just react to different cues. From a Machiavellian lens, the believer is still predictable. Mention certain words and you can watch the reaction arrive, fast and emotional. There is no pause, no testing, no curiosity, only defense. Because the belief is not an idea anymore. It is identity. When you challenge the belief, you challenge the believer's worth. That is why disagreement feels like attack. That is why doubt feels like betrayal. The believer confuses morality with intelligence. They assume being on the right side makes them smarter. But morality and effectiveness are separate. You can be morally correct and strategically powerless. You can be righteous and still be used. The believer does not want to hear this because righteousness feels like protection from shame. It feels like being a good person means you will be rewarded. Machiavelli's lens breaks that fantasy. Outcomes do not care about your moral comfort. Outcomes follow structure, incentives, timing, and action. Moving past level 2 requires sacrificing righteousness as identity. It requires the ability to say, I might be wrong, even about what I love. Most people cannot do that. Their belief system is their emotional home. They would rather be certain than accurate. Level 3. The mimic. The mimic learns a social lesson. Sounding intelligent changes how people treat you. So they chase the appearance of intelligence, not the function of it. They collect phrases, references, and confident delivery. They learn how smart sounds and then they weaponize that sound to gain status. They use complexity as camouflage. They speak in a way that is hard to challenge, not because it is true, but because it is tiring to unpack. They name-drop books they half-read, repeat concepts they cannot apply, and turn conversation into performance. Online spaces reward them because online spaces reward presentation more than results. Ask a mimic to explain something simply and you often see the crack. Simplicity requires understanding. Mimics usually have memorized packaging, not internalized mechanics. Under real pressure, they stall. They can debate, but they cannot decide. They can talk, but they cannot operate. From a Machiavellian lens, the mimic is still predictable, just in a more polished way. They chase validation. They adjust their opinions to match the room. They mirror the dominant voice, not always consciously manipulating, often unconsciously adapting, because they have no stable center. Their identity is performance, and performance depends on audience approval. Moving past level 3 requires something the mimic hates: losing applause. You have to stop caring about looking smart and start caring about being effective. That means trading attention for outcomes. It means admitting that your knowledge might be decoration. It means building thinking, not collecting signals of thinking. Now the shift begins. And this is where the latter stops being a self-image exercise and becomes an operating system. Level 4. The calculator. The calculator no longer asks what should happen. They ask, what will happen? They stop treating morality as a guarantee and start treating behavior as a pattern. They look at incentives first. Who benefits? Who loses? What is being rewarded? What is being punished? What do people gain by saying what they say? The calculator sees rules like weather. You do not argue with weather. You do not cry about it. You learn it, anticipate it, and position yourself accordingly. If you do not understand the rules will use you. If you do understand them, you can exploit them. This level introduces emotional restraint. Someone insults the calculator, and the calculator does not rush to defend ego. They ask, is this person useful, dangerous, irrelevant? They respond based on consequence, not emotion. That is why calculators seem calm. Their calm is not softness, it is strategy. But the calculator has a trap. Seeing manipulation everywhere can produce paranoia. Every offer has a hook. Every kindness looks transactional. Every smile looks like a tactic. The calculator becomes effective, but also exhausted, because they never turn the lens off. Every interaction becomes analysis. From a Machiavellian lens, the calculator is the fox. Clever, alert, hard to trap. But the fox still plays inside someone else's forest. The calculator can win within the existing structure, but they did not create the structure. Cleverness can exploit a game, but cleverness alone does not redesign it. Moving past level 4 requires courage, not courage as emotion. Courage as action under uncertainty. Seeing clearly is one thing. Acting on what you see is another. Level 5, the operator. The operator takes the calculator's clarity and adds will. The operator moves. They do not wait for permission, consensus, or perfect information. They make hard calls. They do what others postpone. When chaos hits, most people become reactive. They blame, panic, freeze, or perform. The operator executes. Pressure clarifies them. While others process, the operator decides what happens next. This is visible power. People can see the operator. They can feel the operator. The operator becomes a reference point in the environment. That produces influence fast. It also produces enemies fast. Visible power is limited power. When everyone knows where you stand, they know where to aim. Your moves are scrutinized. Your mistakes are amplified. Your rivals study you. This is why many operators burn out. They carry the weight of attention, responsibility, and attack. Machiavellian logic applies cleanly here. Fear can be safer than love if you cannot be both. But fear creates a market for challengers. Someone is always training to become more feared. Someone is always trying to replace the lion. Operators win through force of will. But the lion is always in danger, because the lion is always visible. Moving past level 5 requires learning that the most effective control rarely announces itself. Level 6, the puppeteer. The puppeteer understands that invisible power beats visible power. They stop commanding and start shaping. They stop threatening and start guiding desire and fear. The puppeteer does not force you to comply. They create a situation where compliance feels like your own idea. They control what you see, what you focus on, what information arrives, and when it arrives. They use timing as leverage. They use silence as pressure. They use implication as control. This level is psychological. The puppeteer reads people fast. They notice what someone needs to hear to feel safe, what someone fears being seen as, what someone secretly wants permission to do. Then they frame reality, so the person walks toward the desired outcome while believing it was choice. From a Machiavellian lens, this is the next evolution of effectiveness. It is not cruelty. It is awareness of how humans move. People do not move by logic alone. They move by identity, fear, and belonging. The puppeteer uses those currents, but the cost is heavy. When you live through masks and strategy, sincerity decays. Relationships become tools. You risk forgetting who you are without the role. The puppeteer can win externally while losing internally. They may become powerful and hollow at the same time. Moving past level 6 requires something most puppeteers avoid: building structures that do not require constant manipulation. Level 7, the architect. The architect stops trying to win inside systems and starts building systems. They understand a blunt truth: controlling individuals is fragile. People rebel, groups fracture. But controlling the environment is stable. If you design the environment, you shape behavior at scale. The architect creates frameworks, institutions, rules, defaults. Once these exist, Most people obey them without realizing they are obeying. They call them how things are. This is the highest form of control because it becomes invisible. It feels natural. The architect thinks in decades, while others fight today's battles. The architect designs tomorrow's battlefield, while others argue about moves. The architect decides what moves are possible. From a Machiavellian lens, this is permanent influence. It does not require daily dominance. It compounds quietly. The cost is recognition. Architects often look inactive to lower levels because their work is not dramatic. But when the system is in place, everyone lives inside it. Moving past level 7 points toward a different kind of power, one that is not external. Level 8. The sovereign. The sovereign is self-governed. Not in the motivational sense, in the mechanical sense. Emotions still rise, but they do not dictate. Desire still appears, but it does not override judgment. Fear still exists, but it is observed, not obeyed. The sovereign is hard to steer because steering usually requires an emotional handle. Praise, shame, urgency, anger, anxiety. The sovereign notices the handle and refuses to be pulled. This internal control creates external freedom. They can engage without attachment. They can step back without shame. They can take loss without collapsing. They do not need titles to feel secure. Their power is internal, and internal power cannot be granted or revoked by a crowd. From a Machiavellian lens, the sovereign becomes dangerous in a quiet way, not because they dominate others, but because they are not easily dominated. Level 9. The void. The void is extreme detachment. No ego hunger. No fear of loss. No dependency on identity. You cannot threaten someone who is someone who does not crave. You cannot manipulate someone who does not need you to approve of them. Lower levels call this emptiness or weakness because they cannot imagine functioning without attachment. They are wrong. Attachment is the main lever used on humans. Remove attachment and most levers break. The void rarely acts because it sees how much action is noise. But if the void chooses to move, it moves with a force that is difficult to counter because it is not negotiating with ego. Level 10. The myth. The myth is influence without presence. You are no longer a person in the room. You are an idea that shapes rooms you will never enter. Systems, principles, and frameworks continue operating after you are gone. This is not something you can manufacture with a checklist. It happens when someone operates at high effectiveness long enough that their impact becomes larger than their identity. Machiavelli exists here in the simplest sense. Centuries later, people still use his lens to understand power, that is myth power. Presence without presence. Now the latter turns back toward you, not as a fantasy but as a mirror. Be honest about what you felt while hearing the lower levels. Defensiveness is data. Disgust is data. Relief is data. The point is not to agree with every label. The point is to locate your default operating mode. Most people live inside a story of themselves. I'm smart. I'm aware. I'm different. Those are not operating statements. They are identity shields. They cost nothing. They protect ego from the humiliation of being ordinary. The latter forces a different question. What do you do under pressure? Not what do you claim in comfort? When someone disrespects you, do you react immediately, trying to regain status? That is a sign of external control. When someone challenges your belief, do you feel attacked and rush to defend? That is identity fused to ideology. When you speak, do you reach for complex language to feel superior? That is validation driving behavior. Integration begins when you replace identity labels with behavioral standards. A label says, I am intelligent. A standard says, I pause, I observe, then I choose. A label says, I see through people. A standard says, I check incentives before trusting. A label says I'm disciplined. A standard says I do not negotiate with impulse. Standards are uncomfortable because they expose inconsistency. A label can survive any failure. A standard cannot. That is why standards change you. Now here is the part most people hate. Moving up does not happen by adding information. Information is everywhere. Moving up happens by removing illusions that keep you compliant. At level 1, the illusion is comfort. If I keep routines, I'm safe. At level 2, the illusion is righteousness. If I'm on the right side, I'm protected. At level 3, the illusion is validation. If I sound smart, I'm progressing. At level 4, the illusion becomes control through thinking alone. If I see it, I own it. At level 5, the illusion becomes control through force. If I act hard enough, I win. At level 6, the illusion becomes control through masks. If I shape others, I'm secure. At level 7, the illusion becomes permanence without internal cost. If I build it, I'm done. At level 8, the illusion is that self-mastery is easy. It is not. It is a daily refusal. At level 9, the illusion is that detachment is apathy. It is not. It is freedom from hooks. Integration means you stop romanticizing levels and start auditing hooks. What reliably pulls you off your center? Praise, rejection, urgency, shame, anger, the need to be right, the need to be seen, the need to be safe. Those are the levers. Your task is not to become a cartoon villain. Your task is to become less usable. Because the system thrives on usable people. People who react on cue, people who can be herded by headlines, people who can be shamed into compliance or praised into obedience. You become less usable by practicing choice. Choice is not a slogan. It is a behavior. It looks like a pause when you want to react. It looks like silence when you want to perform. It looks like asking, what outcome is this pushing me toward? Before you speak. It looks like stepping back when the crowd demands you join their outrage. It looks like delaying gratification when impulse begs you to numb out. As you integrate, some relationships will strain, not because you became better, but because dynamics depended on your predictability. When you stop reacting the same way, people lose their map of you. Some will adapt, some will push harder, some will leave. That is not a tragedy. That is exposure. It shows which relationships were built on mutual respect and which were built on your compliance. Integration also requires accepting a quieter form of progress. The lower levels are loud. They signal, they post, they argue, they prove. Higher movement is often invisible. It is internal. It is fewer words, better timing, cleaner decisions, stronger boundaries, and less emotional leakage. This is why most people stop. They want progress that can be displayed. They want an identity that gets applause. But real movement up the ladder often reduces applause because you stop performing for the crowd. So rebuild the identity correctly. Replace I am smart with I am deliberate. Replace I am awake with I test what I believe. Replace I am powerful with I control my response. That identity is not exciting, but it is hard to manipulate. And once you are hard to manipulate, your life stops being shaped by whoever is loudest. For the next 24 hours, interrupt your programming in real time. Every time you are about to react, pause for 5 seconds. Not to look calm, not to look superior. To regain authorship, ask one question. What is this trying to pull out of me? Anger, approval-seeking, shame, urgency, proving, performing, belonging. Name the hook, Then choose a response that serves your position, not your impulse. If you cannot do 5 seconds, you are not in control. If you can do 5 seconds, you will start seeing the game everywhere, in arguments, in attention traps, in workplace dynamics, in your own habits. That is the beginning of moving up. Write this in the comments. I see the game, and I choose my move. Then answer one question honestly. Which level do you actually live in most days, when nobody is watching? If you want to keep going deeper into this lens, stay here. The next move starts now.